Good evening, everyone. My name is Roxanne. Today I would like to present to you my creative poster for our upcoming Shed Aquarium Field Day. I'll be showing you several elements of my design that make it the obvious, most eye-catching choice to use. The first thing I'd like to point out, because it's probably the first thing you've already noticed, is the center. The center to this poster creates several heavy arguments of design in itself. Let's start with the simplest, dots. A dot anywhere within a frame space demands immediate attention, says Paul Martin Lester in Visual Communications, Images with Messages. Maybe you're thinking, but there are two fish in this image. Correct. But I would argue that due to the contrasting nature of the image, this centered picture could be considered a metaphorical dot of attention centering the audience to it. Speaking of contrast, I would like to point out that this poster has multiple examples of contrast. Contrast can be simply defined as being strikingly different. Going back to the fish in the center, the contrast of the color would be the most outstanding variable. The poster as a whole has a cool, light vibe with the blue tones as a sort of frame or border. The immediate contrast of the warm and bright orange of the fish create a contrasting focus and emotional association. The next important aspect of the poster is the color theory in itself. Using the subjective method for describing color, or a more emotional reasoning, I can point out that the cool blues give a relaxing hue. Using the lighter blues and the conjunctioning watercolor method of delivery creates a cheerful and safe feeling pattern. Again, coming back to the fish, making a sunny and active orange stand out among them. If we look at the color usage comparatively, we can see that the blues simply convey the idea of water. This can come back to elaborate subjectively as the feeling of relaxation or even an adventurous association. The orange of the fish can comparatively be seen as maybe sun or oranges, and this can give it a youthful feel. How does this tie together with dealing with parents and children? When we mix together the subjective and comparative responses, we get an adventurous, active, and imaginative poster for children, and subsequently we get a safe, relaxing, and warm feeling for parents. The next detail I'd like to look at is line and shape. Although not prevalent in this poster, it still creates design details that warrant positive communication. As we can see, one of the most obvious lines is the one under the date. This line has a curvy or wavy nature to it. It's horizontal and it's light in detail. What does this say about the line? Curved lines are playful and graceful. Using the wake conveys a message of being fun yet soft. Combining this with the lighter thickness makes the line seem more delicate. This adds to the safe and relaxing tones of the blue and the playfulness of the orange fish. The fact that the lines are horizontal and towards the lower part of the page remind viewers of a horizon with plenty of room to grow, says Mr. Lester. He also mentioned that if we were to be having the horizontal lines in the high part of the frame, it can make the layout feel heavy. In conjunction with that, we can look at the shapes. The circles around the text are placed around them strategically to bring them attention. Circles are considered the attention getters out of the shapes. Combined with the shadowing and subjective description of blue, the circles can add a fun bubble-like element into the entire poster. Leaving them and the text blue also allows for the black text at the bottom to stand out through contrast. Being the darkest part of the page and its placement and color and size draw the viewer's eye down to it, creating the feeling of obvious importance. Being that the content is the time and date, it's a fitting design And the addition of the wavy line makes it seem not so foreboding or aggressive, but allows the viewer to realize it does have a serious tone. If there's one more thing I'd like to touch on with this, it would be the balance. If we start from the outside and go inward, we can see an obvious balance. A sort of frame is created by the watercolor blues. They are equal and balanced in each corner. There is white space on the sides, relaying sort of a frame, but also keeping the eye from being fatigued. As we go inward, we can see the space is maintained until reaching the center emphasis, allowing the eye to focus and the design to breathe. If we look again from the top to the bottom, you can see another balance. The top only houses the title of the shed aquarium, while the bottom conveys time, date, price, and exhibits. Although not filled with the same amount of information, the large and playful lettering of the title creates a heavier weight on top. The light blue lettering and lines of the bottom contain plenty of information, but have a more subtle and graceful look, not overwhelming the area with content. If you pull up the grids and look, just a second. You can see an obvious perception of quadrants. We create imaginary horizontal and vertical lines, and we can see 4 spaces. In the upper right corner, we have the larger lettering of Aquarium in the title, the darker blue, and not so much of a fish. If we go to the left, we can see we have a little bit of fish, less lettering, and a lighter blue, but more of it. If we move down to the bottom, we can see not so much fish, about equal amounts for the information, and a larger bubble, but less watercolor. If we move to the right, we can see a good amount of fish, same amount of the time and date, a smaller bubble, and more watercolor, but lighter in color. When examining this in force, the poster stands out to be weighted with content equally in each quadrant, even with the different content in each. This also creates great movement throughout the flyer. From the eye-catching fish, to the darker date, to the easily examined bubbles of information, and then broken up with space when we look around at the big picture as a whole, and then we look at the title. My flyer creates an easy-to-read solution. The balance of space makes the reader's eyes relax. The movement focuses them to the correct information, but also entices them by centering them on the fun and interesting color and content. The color and contrast allow the viewer to feel wonder, whimsy, and adventure, but at the same time relaxing and soothing them. The lines direct attention to the important information without overwhelming the viewer, and they keep the tone light and delicate. Where all of this combined, my poster comes close to the ethical perspective known as the Golden Rule. This perspective is defined by Mr. Paul Lester as a balance between the extremes of hedonism, or attracting the eye, and utilitarianism, which focuses on educational benefit. So please vote for this poster, and I assure you that due to all the elements I've provided to you today, you will not be disappointed. Thank you.